Welcome friends to the third video on this series Indirect Tax Case Laws. In today's video we have picked three interesting case laws to discuss, one being a matter on GST classification and one which is another important ruling which is ITC on promotional or marketing items, are they eligible or not, and third where the GSTN of a company was blocked because they didn't reply to a show cause notice issued on cancellation. So these are the three rulings we have taken for this week. So let us start with the first ruling, which is Analytica Chemi Inc. an advance ruling before the Karnataka Advanced Ruling Authority. So here the question is, pharmaceutical reference standards PRS imported by the applicant and classified under chapter 38220090 of the Customs Tariff Act, when it is supplied by the company, what should be the classification under GST? Should it be 12%, that is schedule 2, which deals with 12% under the rate notification, which has the description all diagnostic kits and reagents? Should it be classifiable under this entry, or schedule 3, which is 18 percentage, where all the residuary goods are covered? So which of these two entries will be applicable is the question before the advanced ruling authorities. So here the appellant contends that the rate notification, that is what we are dealing here, 1/2017, has the reference that tariff item, subheading, heading and chapter, the terms used in that notification shall respectively mean a tariff item, heading, subheading and chapter as specified in the first schedule of the Customs Tariff Act. Similarly, there is also an explanation which says that whatever rules of interpretation applicable to the Customs Tariff Act and the explanatory notes in the Customs Tariff Act should also be applicable when interpreting the GST route notification. So as you can see, the last point of this, we have provided the what is the heading as per 3822 of the Customs Tariff Act. So this chapter 38 is miscellaneous chemical products, and this 3822 covers diagnostic or laboratory reagents on a backing, prepared diagnostic or laboratory reagents whether or not on a backing, other than those of heading 3002 or 3006, and certified reference materials. So this is a quite extensive description under the Customs Tariff Act, but as you can see, in the GST the description is just all diagnostic kits and reagents. So there is a question before the advanced ruling authority, whether should we go with the entry number 80, which is at 12 percentage, or entry number 453, which is at 18 percentage. So one thing the appellant is very sure here is that the classification of this product is 3822 only, because there are precedents wherein in LGC Promochem India Private Limited, the Bangalore Tribunal upheld that such PRS are required for analytical measurement, which depends on many variables to provide data need to make informed decisions. So this pharmaceutical reference standards are reference materials for the drug manufacturers to manufacture the drug. So based on this only, the drug manufacturers determine whether the required standards for the particular drug is met with, and these are provided by pharmacopoeias like the US Pharmacopoeia, British Pharmacopoeia, etc. And the classification has been also upheld by the Supreme Court, that it is classifiable under 3822. So the question is whether the description all diagnostic kits and reagents in the GST is also suitable and for applying the 12 percentage of the GST rate notification. The question is on the rate and not on the classification. So the advance authority said that this case is very similar to the Chroma Chemi Laboratory Private Limited case, which has been dealt by the same authority, where there were two levels of appeal. So first, the AIR gave an unfavorable ruling wherein they said that this is not classifiable under entry 80, that is 12 percentage is not applicable to them by applying the principle of aegistem generis. And then the AAAR, when it was further appealed, the AAAR clearly pointed out that to apply the principle of aegistem generis, the following conditions have to be met. And more, what the AAR said it is not applicable, the reason is all diagnostic kits and reagents. So the lower authority said that the diagnostic kits and reagents. So the word reagents should also be read with the word diagnostic. So only diagnostic kits and reagents, that is diagnostic kits and diagnostic reagents, were only covered by this entry. But this pharmaceutical reference standards are not for the purpose of diagnosis, but it is only more of a laboratory use to test the quality of the output. So this is not a diagnostic purpose, and hence it has to go to the residuary entry, was the lower authority ruling. So the AAAR, the next appellate authority, has clearly given the conditions that has to be satisfied to apply Aegis Generis. So the 5 conditions are: the statute contains an enumeration of specific words. The subject of enumeration constitutes a class or category. The class or category is not exhausted by the enumeration. The general terms follow the enumeration, and there is no indication of a different legislative intent. So these are the 5 conditions to first of all apply the principle of Aegis Generis. So let's take an example. Let's say um, there is cats, dogs, and other animals. So here, if you see the cats, dogs, and other animals, these are some specific words, and it forms a class or category, like say domestic animals. And the word other animals is a general word following this class. So this general word other animals should be read as domestic animals, and you can't apply say lion or a tiger into this category. So this is the principle of Aegis Generis. And in this particular case, what has happened is the general word all diagnostic kits and reagent, all is a general word which is preceding this uh, enumerations or preceding these specific words. So this is an inverse application. So all diagnostic kits and reagents, uh, this is not a uh, this is not a place to apply Aegis Generis, is what the AAAR has confirmed, because an inverse application of Aegis Generis is not possible. The general word should follow the specific words and not vice versa. So hence entry number 80 is very much applicable, and it does not mean that all diagnostic kits and reagents should be restricted for diagnostic reagents. Even laboratory reagents are covered under this entry, and hence it is taxable at 12%. So now let's look at the second case law, Page Industries Limited, which is also a Karnataka AAAR ruling. So here the applicant is engaged in the manufacture of garments under the brand name Jockey and Speedo. So the manufacture of garments is made by job workers, and the sales are made through franchisee and distributors. So here what is happening is there are some promotional expenses which the applicant has incurred, which is like the applicant has purchased display boards and giving a uniform to staffs, putting gifts and posters, hoardings, etc. So these are all more to promote the business of the retail showrooms. So whether these expenses are permissible under GST as input tax credit is the question. Now the lower authority held that such distributable products which are given to the customers should be allowed as ITC, because it is supplied to a related party, and a related party is a deemed supply under GST, and hence ITC should be allowed. But however, if it is given to retailers who are non-related parties, then it is gifts and should be restricted under 17(5). So this kind of ruling which came from the AAR was further appealed, and then the AAAR has bifurcated this into 2 categories, that is non-distributable items and distributable items. So what are they? So the non-distributable items are items like, let's say, the mannequins, the hangers, the display stand, etc., which the appellant is supposed to give to the franchisee as per his contract, and it will be kept in the franchisee's showroom until the end of the franchisee contract. And at the end of the contract only, the appellant will take those items from the franchisee's showroom. So until then, it will be used by the franchisee to promote and make more sales using this by displaying the products. So this kind of products are purchased by the applicant, and ITC is availed by the applicant, and then these goods are sent to the franchisees by way of a delivery challan. So now this giving it by way of a delivery challan, that is without any consideration to the franchisee, will this qualify as an eligible ITC, was analyzed in the AAAR's discussion, and what it has been held is such promotional items are given to the franchisee without any consideration, and hence when consideration is absent, as per section 7, to anything to qualify as a supply there should be a consideration element. However, this is subject to schedule 1. So in schedule 1, if it is given to related parties without consideration, it's deemed a supply. But the AAR, the lower authority, held that it was given to related party, but which was factually incorrect, and the AAAR clarified that there are no related parties within the franchisees, and since they are not a related party, this will not qualify as a supply under schedule 1 also. However, there is another condition in schedule 1 where it would say permanent transfer of business assets where ITC is availed. So here again the appellant has clarified that this is not a capital expenditure for them, it is not an asset in their books, and it is only a revenue expense. So hence the AAAR has said that since it is not an asset in the books of the appellant, this will not be a this entry will also be not applicable to them. So therefore what's happening, schedule 1 also fails, and hence there is no element of deemed supply and there is no consideration, and hence this is not a supply under GST. And when it is said that it is not a supply under GST, it is a non-taxable supply under GST, and a non-taxable supply is covered under the definition of exempt supply. So exempt supply definition under GST covers a non-taxable supply, and hence the AAAR has said that these supplies made to the franchisee will be considered as exempt supplies under GST, and section 17 subsection 2 clearly says that ITC to the extent made towards exempt supplies has to be restricted, and ITC should not be allowed for such purposes. So this, even though as per the contract they are supposed to keep those hangers or display stands or whatever in the franchisee's location, the AAAR has said that since it is not for a consideration, it is an exempt supply, and hence the corresponding ITC should not be allowed in accordance with 17 subsection 2. So now these are the non-distributable items, that is, it is not further distributed to anyone. Once it will always be with the franchisee till the end of the contract period. However, the second part which has been bifurcated is the distributable items. What are the distributable items? The appellant procures certain giveaway items such as carry bags, calendars, diaries, etc., where the brand name will be embossed or engraved in such items, and this will be given to the showrooms and retailers who will be giving it to the customers who purchase the products. So this is also kind of a marketing expense where the calendars, diaries with the brand name of the appellant is being given to the customers. So this also is a common expenses many companies do incur. So however, one thing to note here is there is no contractual obligation, unlike the uh, previous example of non-distributable items where they have to give this hangers, mannequins, display stands, etc. There is no contractual obligation to give these kind of carry bags, calendars, etc. However, the appellant on his own gives these items for further distribution to the customers. So here again this is also given free of cost to the retailers for them to promote the business by distributing it to the customers. So the AAAR has said that this distributable items will also qualify as exempt supply under section 17 subsection 2, and hence ITC should not be allowed. However, additionally, as per section 17(5)(h), 17 subsection 5 clause h, the blocked credits specifically blocks goods disbursed by way of gifts even if it is incurred in the course or furtherance of business. So 17(5) starts with a notwithstanding clause for section 16. So that's why even though section 16 says that it is whatever expense incurred in the course or furtherance of business can be taken, 17 subsection 5 overrides this, which means even if it is incurred in the course of business, that is marketing is in the course of business, they want to promote, But still, if it is given as a gift, then it is specifically blocked by clause H of 17 subsection 5. So hence the distributable items and the non-distributable items are blocked or not allowed as ITC is the conclusion given in this ruling. This is the third case law for today's topic, Daime Enterprises versus State of Tripura. A show cause notice was issued by the superintendent on 16th December 2020 asking to show cause why the registration should not be cancelled. However, as you can see, the reasons for cancellation was not very clear. It just mentioned that non-compliance of the any provisions of GST Act or rules made thereunder. So this was supposed to be replied within 7 days. However, the petitioner has replied it belatedly, but there was no order passed during the interim period. But post the reply, the GSTN of the petitioner has been blocked in the GST portal. So hence a petition was filed with the High Court, and the department has mentioned that there was substantial dues which was pending from the taxpayer, and despite notices the same was not paid, and hence the action of blocking of GSTN was taken. So here the High Court observed that whatever the tax demand of the department against the petitioner, the action under challenge cannot survive the test of law. The notice was issued only for cancellation of registration, that too without citing any particular reason, and hence without giving any clear provisions of the act or rules which has been contravened. Asking the petitioner to appear for a hearing or to give a reply is only a empty formality is what the court has observed. And apart from this, the court also mentions that there was no order passed against this SEN which cancelled the GST registration, and hence this action of blocking the GSTN is not a right resort, and the court directed that this will also hamper the business of the applicant in a which cannot be carried out in a lawful manner if the GSTN is blocked, and hence the court directed the respondents to unblock the GSTN, and it also quashed the show cause notice on the grounds that it was vague and imprecise. Nevertheless, the court also mentioned that this will not affect the department's right to take steps for recovery of the pending dues to the government. So this was the last case law, and I think this video would have been informative and useful. So until we meet in the next update or case laws videos for the next week, please feel free to share your comments and deliberations of law in the comments. So I'll do reply, and these are only the case laws that I'm trying to share with you all. I'm not giving my thought process on the law. However, please feel free to deliberate and give your opinions in the comment section. So I'll definitely reply to the comments. And meanwhile, if you like the video, please like, share, and subscribe with your friends. So thank you. Let's meet in the next video.